The electrician called at 2:47 p.m. I was in a meeting with 3 clients when my phone buzzed. Diego Vasquez, the guy I'd hired to fix the flickering light in my late wife's office. I'd been putting off that repair for over 2 years. I couldn't bring myself to change anything in that room. I almost let it go to voicemail. Then I saw the text that followed. Urgent. Answer. I excused myself from the conference room, stepped into the hallway, and called him back. Sir? Diego's voice was barely above a whisper, shaking. You need to come home now. And come alone. My heart stopped. Is it a fire? Did something happen? No, it's not a fire. Please, Mr. Trent, just come fast. Diego, what's going on? You're scaring me. A long pause. I could hear him breathing. Could hear the fear in each exhale. I found something behind the wall. Something your wife hid. His voice cracked. Sir, I think you need to see this. Behind the wall. What are you talking about? Please just come. I don't want to say more on the phone. I don't know who. Just come alone. The line went dead. I stood in that hallway for a long moment, phone pressed against my ear, listening to silence. My wife had been dead for over 2 years. She had died in a car accident, brake failure on a mountain road. I had buried her, mourned her, tried to rebuild a life for our 2 children. And now an electrician was telling me she had hidden something behind a wall. I grabbed my jacket, told my assistant I had a family emergency, and drove home faster than I'd ever driven in my life. The house was quiet when I arrived. Too quiet. Diego's van was still in the driveway. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside, calling his name. Up here. His voice came from the 2nd floor, from Elaine's office. I climbed the stairs 2 at a time. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The door to Elaine's office was open. I hadn't been inside that room in months, maybe longer. After she died, I closed the door and left it. Her books were still on the shelves. Her computer was still on the desk. Her sweater was still draped over the back of her chair. I couldn't face it. Couldn't face the reminders of what I'd lost. Diego was standing in the middle of the room, his face pale, his hands trembling. He was a big guy, 39 years old, broad shoulders, the kind of man who looked like he'd never been scared of anything. He looked terrified now. Mr. Trent. He pointed at the wall behind Elaine's desk. I was trying to fix the light, had to remove the fixture to check the wiring, and I noticed the wall sounded different, hollow. I looked at the wall. At first, I didn't see anything unusual. Same cream-colored paint as always. Same baseboards. Then I noticed the seam. A thin line in the drywall, barely visible, running from floor to ceiling. The kind of seam you'd never notice unless you were looking for it. I didn't mean to pry, Diego said, but it was right there. I pushed on it, and he reached out and pressed against the wall. A panel swung inward. Behind it was a room I never knew existed. The space was small, maybe 4 foot x 4 feet, carved out of what I had always assumed was dead space between Elaine's office and the hallway closet. A single LED light strip ran along the ceiling, battery-powered, still glowing faintly after all this time. Inside was a metal safe about 2 foot tall, a filing box, a laptop, and a corkboard mounted on the wall covered with photographs, documents, and sticky notes connected by colored string. I stepped inside the hidden room, my mind refusing to process what I was seeing. What is this? My voice didn't sound like my own. Diego, what is this? I don't know, sir. I saw it and I didn't touch anything except to look. There's something on top of the safe. A letter with your name on it. I looked down. A white envelope sat on top of the safe, sealed with a small piece of tape, written on the front in Elaine's handwriting. That familiar, graceful script I had loved for 16 years. For Marcus, if anything happens to me. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. Should I leave? Diego asked. Give you privacy? Stay, please. I don't want to be alone right now. I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, 4 pages long, handwritten on the same cream stationery Elaine had used for thank you notes and birthday cards. I started reading and my entire world collapsed. My dearest Marcus, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for the secrets. I'm sorry for not telling you. I'm sorry for everything you're about to discover. I wanted to protect you. Protect Lucas and Sophie. I thought I could handle this alone, gather enough evidence, and bring Raymond Cross to justice without putting any of you in danger. I was wrong. Let me start from the beginning. In 2019, I started noticing discrepancies in the medication inventory at Mercy General. Small things at first, a few missing vials of morphine here, some unaccounted for oxycodone there. I thought it was clerical errors, nursing mistakes, nothing sinister. Then I started keeping track. And I realized it wasn't random. The discrepancies followed a pattern. They always happened on nights when Dr. Raymond Cross was working late. And they were always opiates, the medications with the highest street value. I should have gone to the authorities then. Should have reported my suspicions and let the professionals handle it. But I was scared. Cross is the hospital administrator. He has connections everywhere. The board, the police, local politicians. I didn't know who I could trust, so I started investigating on my own. I built this room in March 2022, hired a contractor from out of state, paid cash, made him sign a confidentiality agreement. I told him I needed a secure space for sensitive documents related to my work. He didn't ask questions. Inside this room is everything I've gathered over 3 years. Video recordings of Cross meeting with drug dealers in the hospital parking garage. Financial records showing deposits into offshore accounts totaling over $2 million. Testimony from a hospital janitor who saw Cross removing medications from the pharmacy. Everything. It's enough to put him away forever, Marcus. I'm sure of it. But there's something else you need to know. Cross found out. I don't know how. Maybe he noticed me watching him. Maybe someone tipped him off. But in January 2022, he came to my office and closed the door and told me he knew what I was doing. He didn't threaten me directly. He's too smart for that. He just said, accidents happen, Elaine, especially to people who ask too many questions. You have a beautiful family. It would be a shame if something happened to them. I should have stopped. Should have given up. But I was so close, Marcus. I had almost everything I needed. So I kept going and I built this room and I wrote this letter because if I'm dead, Marcus, it wasn't an accident. Raymond Cross killed me and everything you need to prove it is in this room. The safe combination is our wedding anniversary. September 14th, 06. Inside are USB drives containing every video I recorded. The filing box has all the documents, financial records, schedules, photographs. The laptop has backups of everything plus my notes and analysis. Take it to the FBI. Not the local police. Cross has friends there. The FBI field office in Boston. Ask for an agent named Sarah Chin. She's an old college friend. She'll know what to do. Please, my love, get justice for me. For all the patients who suffered because of Cross's greed. For all the families destroyed by the opioids he put on the streets. And then live. Live fully. Be happy again. Find love again. Our children need a father who isn't consumed by grief. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. 16 years of marriage and I never once regretted choosing you. Tell Lucas I'm proud of the man he's becoming. Tell Sophie that her mother thinks she's the bravest, kindest girl in the world. I love you, all 3 of you forever. Your wife, Elaine. I don't know how long I stood there. Minutes, maybe hours. Time had stopped making sense. My wife had been murdered. The car accident that killed her, the brake failure that the police had ruled mechanical malfunction, wasn't an accident at all. A man named Raymond Cross had tampered with her brakes because she knew too much. She had been investigating him for 3 years, building a case, gathering evidence, and when he found out, he killed her. And she had known. She had known she was in danger, known that she might not survive. So she had built this room, hidden this evidence, written this letter, all so that someday, somehow the truth would come out. My wife had spent the last months of her life preparing for her own murder. And I had never suspected a thing. Mr. Trent. Diego's voice came from somewhere far away. Sir, are you okay? I wasn't okay. I would never be okay again. But I had work to do. Diego, I said slowly. I need you to do something for me. Anything, sir? I need you to forget you were ever here. Can you do that? He hesitated. Sir, I don't think this letter. I held it up. It says my wife was murdered by a very powerful, very dangerous man. If he finds out this room exists, if he finds out you saw it. I didn't have to finish the sentence. Diego's face went from pale to white. I was never here, he said. I came to fix a light. The wiring was bad. I'll come back next week to finish the job. Thank you. He nodded, gathered his tools, and left without another word. I stood alone in my dead wife's office, holding a letter from beyond the grave, surrounded by evidence of a crime that had shattered my family. And I made a decision. I was going to destroy the man who killed her. Whatever it took. Let me tell you about Elaine. We met in 2004 at a coffee shop near Boston University. I was 26, just starting my career in financial consulting. She was 24 in nursing school, working part-time as a barista. I ordered a black coffee. She wrote her phone number on the cup. We were married 2 years later. Elaine was everything I wasn't. Warm where I was reserved, spontaneous where I was planned. She had a laugh that could fill a room and a heart that seemed to have no limits. She became a pediatric nurse because she couldn't imagine doing anything else. Kids don't pretend, she used to say. They're honest in ways we forget how to be. Lucas came along in 2008. Sophie in 2011. Watching Elaine become a mother was like watching someone step into the role they were born to play. She was patient, playful, fiercely protective. She read bedtime stories in different voices. She made pancakes shaped like animals on Saturday mornings. She never missed a school play or a soccer game. She was the center of our family, the sun around which we all orbited. In 2015, she got a job at Mercy General Hospital working in the pediatric ward. It was her dream position, helping sick kids, comforting scared parents, making a difference in the lives of people who needed it most. I didn't know that the same hospital would eventually kill her. The morning of June 15, 2022 started like any other morning. Elaine made breakfast, kissed Lucas and Sophie goodbye, told me she loved me. Then she got in her car and drove to work. She never made it. The police said her brakes failed on a mountain road about 10 miles from the hospital. Her car went through a guardrail and fell 200 feet into a ravine. She was pronounced dead at the scene. I remember the call. Remember the officer's voice, professional and detached, telling me my wife was gone. Remember Lucas asking why I was crying. Remember Sophie screaming when she found out. I remember the funeral, the casket, the dirt falling on polished wood. I remember the months that followed, the grief, the emptiness, the struggle to hold my family together while I was falling apart. What I didn't remember was ever questioning the police report. Brake failure, mechanical malfunction, a tragic accident. I accepted it because I had no reason not to, because the alternative was too horrible to consider. But Elaine had considered it. She had known long before that morning that someone was trying to kill her, and she had prepared. She had spent the last months of her life building a case against her murderer, and I had never noticed. The safe combination was our wedding anniversary, just like the letter said. September 14, 2006. Inside were 47 USB drives, each labeled with a date and a brief description. Cross meeting dealer parking garage March 2021. Cross removing meds from pharmacy April 2021. Cross threatening Dr. Patterson July 2021. Cross with cash payments September 2021 and on and on. 3 years of evidence meticulously collected, carefully preserved. The filing box contained documents, Photocopies of inventory records showing the discrepancies Elaine had noticed. Financial statements from offshore banks somehow obtained showing deposits that Cross couldn't explain through legitimate income. Photographs of Cross with known drug dealers taken from Elaine's car in the hospital parking lot. A hand-drawn timeline connecting everything together. The laptop was encrypted, but the password was the same as everything else Elaine used. Our kids' birthdays back to back. January 15th, 08 to March 22nd, 11. Inside were folders organized by year, by subject, by level of importance. Notes in Elaine's voice dictated and transcribed. October 14th, 2021. Cross met with a man in a gray sedan today. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I got his license plate. The meeting lasted about 10 minutes. Cross handed him a small bag, probably pills. The man handed Cross an envelope. November 3, 2021. The inventory report for last month shows 127 units of oxycodone missing. That's nearly twice the average discrepancy. Cross is getting bolder. I need to move faster. January 9, 2022. Cross came to my office today. Closed the door. Told me I should be careful. Said accidents happen to people who ask too many questions. He mentioned Marcus and the kids by name. I think he's going to make a move soon. I need to finish building the room. I read for hours, watched the videos on the USB drives, saw Raymond Cross, a man I had met at hospital events, a man who had attended Elaine's funeral, a man who had shaken my hand and said he was so sorry for your loss, meeting with drug dealers, counting cash, removing medications from locked cabinets. I saw my wife, brave and brilliant, documenting everything with the patience and precision of a scientist. And I saw the evidence that would put her killer behind bars forever. I didn't call the local police. Elaine's letter had been clear. Cross had friends there. Instead, I called the FBI field office in Boston and asked for Agent Sarah Chin. It took 3 days to get through to her. When I finally did, when I explained who I was and why I was calling, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. Ella, Sarah said softly. I had no idea. She reached out to me once about 2 years ago. Said she had information about some irregularities at her hospital, asked if she could trust me. I said yes, and then I never heard from her again. She's dead. She died in what looked like an accident. But I found evidence that suggests it was murder. What kind of evidence? Enough to bring down a hospital administrator who's been stealing opiates and selling them on the street. Enough to prove he killed my wife to protect himself. Another pause. Then, Mr. Trent, I'm going to need you to bring me everything you have. Can you come to Boston tomorrow? I'll be there in the morning. And Mr. Trent, don't tell anyone about this. Not your family, not your friends, not your lawyer. If what you're saying is true, this man has already killed once to protect himself. He'll do it again. I thought about Lucas and Sophie. Thought about what Cross had said to Elaine. You have a beautiful family. It would be a shame if something happened to them. I understand. Good. I'll see you tomorrow. I hung up, packed the USB drives, the documents, the laptop into a duffel bag, and I drove to Boston. The FBI took the case seriously, more seriously than I had expected. Agent Chin assembled a task force within a week. They analyzed the videos, verified the documents, traced the financial records. They interviewed the hospital janitor who Elaine had mentioned in her notes, a man named Alberto Reyes, who had been fired shortly after Elaine's death on trumped-up charges. Alberto confirmed everything. He had seen Cross removing medications. Had been too scared to report it, had been fired when Cross suspected he might talk. The task force also brought in forensic experts to examine what remained of Elaine's car. The vehicle had been in a police impound lot since the accident, scheduled for disposal. They got to it just in time. The brake lines had been cut, not failed, not malfunctioned. Cut with a tool that left distinctive marks. Marks that matched a multi-tool found in Raymond Cross's office during a subsequent search. The evidence was overwhelming. On November 12, 2024, Raymond Cross was arrested at Mercy General Hospital in front of dozens of witnesses. The charges: first-degree murder, drug trafficking, insurance fraud, and obstruction of justice. He tried to run, didn't get far. 2 FBI agents tackled him before he reached the parking lot. I watched the arrest on the evening news, holding the letter Elaine had written 2.5 years ago. "We got him," I whispered to no one. "Elaine, we got him." The trial began in March 2025. I attended every day, sat in the front row of the gallery where Cross could see me, where he would have to face the husband of the woman he had murdered. The prosecution presented Elaine's evidence, all of it. The videos played on courtroom monitors, showing Cross meeting with dealers, removing medications, counting cash. The financial records were displayed on charts and graphs showing $2.3 million in unexplained deposits. The testimony of Alberto Reyes described what he had witnessed. And then they played Elaine's voice. One of the USB drives contained an audio recording, a contingency in case something happened to her notes. In it, Elaine described everything. How she had discovered the theft, how she had built the case, how Cross had threatened her. "I know what I'm doing is dangerous," her voice said, clear and steady. "But I can't just look the other way. People are dying because of the opioids he's putting on the streets. Families are being destroyed and he's getting rich off their suffering. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's not as dangerous as I think he is. But if something happens to me, if you're listening to this because I'm gone, please know that I tried. I tried to do the right thing and I'm not sorry." I cried. Couldn't help it. The whole courtroom was silent, listening to my dead wife speak from beyond the grave. The defense tried to discredit the evidence, claimed Elaine had fabricated it, that she had a vendetta against Cross. That the brake lines could have been cut by anyone. Nobody believed them. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Raymond Cross was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. When the verdict was read, he turned and looked at me. His eyes were empty, defeated. I didn't say anything, just held up Elaine's letter so he could see it. The letter she had written, knowing he would probably kill her. The letter that had ultimately destroyed him. The aftermath was complicated. Mercy General Hospital underwent a complete investigation. Several administrators who had enabled Cross's operation were fired or arrested. Policies were rewritten. Security protocols enhanced. Oversight committees established. The opioids Cross had stolen and sold were traced through the distribution network. Dozens of dealers were arrested. The flow of pills that had been destroying families in 3 states was cut off at the source. And Elaine became a hero. Her story was covered by every major news outlet. Brave nurse gathers evidence against drug trafficker. Solves her own murder from beyond the grave. They published her photo, told her story, celebrated her courage. She received a posthumous commendation from the FBI. The hospital renamed its pediatric ward in her honor. The Elaine Trent Pediatric Care Center. Lucas and Sophie had to learn the truth about their mother's death. I told them as gently as I could in age-appropriate terms that would expand as they got older and could handle more. "Mom was very brave," I told Sophie, who was 13 at the time. "She found out someone was doing something very bad and she tried to stop them." "Is that why she died?" Sophie asked. "Yes, sweetheart. That's why she died." "Was she scared?" I thought about Elaine's letter, about the months she had spent knowing she was in danger, building her case anyway, protecting us by keeping us in the dark. "I think she was scared, but she did the right thing anyway. That's what courage is, being scared and doing it anyway." Sophie nodded slowly. "She was a hero." "Yes, baby. She was a hero." 2 years have passed since I found that hidden room. I'm 48 now. Still working as a financial consultant. Still living in the same house. The house where Elaine hid a room behind a wall and prepared for her own murder. I go into her office now. Regularly. I've kept most of her things, the books, the photos, the sweater on the chair, but I've added some of my own. A framed copy of the FBI commendation, a newspaper clipping about Cross's conviction, the letter she wrote me, preserved in archival glass. Lucas is 18. He graduated high school last spring, valedictorian of his class. He's attending Boston University now, Elaine's alma mater, studying pre-law. He says he wants to be a prosecutor. Wants to put criminals away like the one who killed his mother. I told him his mother would be proud. Sophie is 15, high school sophomore. She's quieter than Lucas, more introspective. She processes her grief differently through art, through writing, through long walks by herself. She's working on a project for her English class, a biography of her mother based on the notes and recordings Elaine left behind. I want people to know who she was, Sophie told me. Not just the hero who solved her own murder, but the mom. Sunday. It's a quiet spot on a hill overlooking a pond shaded by an old oak tree. The headstone reads Elaine Marie Trent, 1980 to 2022. Beloved wife, mother, and hero. She did the right thing anyway. I bring flowers. Sometimes the kids come with me, sometimes I go alone. I talk to her, tell her about Lucas's classes, Sophie's art projects, the little moments of life she's missing. I tell her that Cross is rotting in prison, that the hospital named a wing after her, that the FBI still uses her case as a training example for how to build evidence against powerful criminals. I tell her that I miss her every day, every hour, every breath. But I don't tell her that I've stopped living because I haven't. She asked me in her letter to live fully, to be happy again, to find love again. I'm not there yet. Maybe I never will be. But I'm trying. I've started dating again, tentatively, awkwardly, with all the grace of a man who hasn't been single in 2 decades. There's a woman at work, a colleague named Rebecca, who makes me laugh in a way I thought I'd forgotten how to laugh. We've had dinner twice. Nothing serious. But it's something. Elaine would approve. I think she wasn't the jealous type. She was the type who wanted the people she loved to be happy. Whatever that took, even if it meant moving on after she was gone. I still have questions. Things I'll never know. Things the evidence didn't reveal. How long did she know? When did she realize that Cross was going to kill her? Was there a moment when she accepted it? When she stopped hoping for escape and started planning for aftermath? Did she think about telling me? Did she write drafts of the letter that were more detailed, more desperate, more afraid? Did she delete them, rewrite them, polish them until they were as calm and steady as the final version? What was she thinking that last morning when she kissed me goodbye? When she hugged the kids, when she got in the car that would become her coffin, did she know? Did she suspect? I'll never have answers. The dead don't speak except in letters left behind. But I choose to believe that her last morning was a good one. That the kiss was real. That the hug was warm. That she drove toward work believing she might actually survive. That's the version I hold on to. It's the only version I can bear. Diego Vasquez came back last year to finish fixing the light. I paid him triple his normal rate. Told him the official story. My wife had left some personal documents hidden in the wall. Nothing sinister, just a quirk of her personality. He didn't believe me, of course. He had seen the corkboard with its photos and string. Had felt the weight of what we'd discovered. But he nodded, accepted the payment, and never spoke of it again. Good man, Diego. The kind of man who knows when to keep his mouth shut. The hidden room is empty now. The evidence is with the FBI, permanently archived. The safe has been removed. The filing box donated to a museum exhibit about the opioid crisis. The laptop sits in my closet, wiped clean, but preserved. I sealed the room back up. Had a contractor rebuild the wall, repaint it, make it look like nothing had ever been there. But I know it's there behind the wall, a hollow space where my wife's secrets used to live. Sometimes I put my hand against the wall and close my eyes. Tried to feel her presence. Tried to imagine her standing in that tiny room, organizing her evidence, writing her letter, preparing for a future she hoped would never come. She was so brave, braver than I ever knew, braver than I could ever be. If you're watching this, I want you to know something. The people we love don't always tell us everything. They keep secrets, sometimes to protect us. I wish she had told me. I wish she had trusted me enough to share the burden. Maybe I could have helped. Maybe we could have faced it together. But I understand why she didn't. She was trying to protect us, trying to keep her family safe from a danger she had stumbled into. She made a choice. The wrong choice maybe, but a loving one. I can't be angry at her for that. I can only be grateful for the time we had, the 16 years of marriage, the 2 beautiful children, the love that was real, even when the truth was hidden. And I can honor her memory by living the life she wanted for me fully, happily, without being consumed by grief. That's what she asked? That's what I'm trying to give her. It's Sunday morning now. Lucas is home from college for the weekend. Sophie is finishing her biography project at the kitchen table. The house smells like coffee and maple syrup. In an hour, we'll drive to the cemetery, place flowers on Elaine's grave, tell her about our week. Then we'll come home and have lunch and watch a movie and be a family. Not the family we were. Never that family again, but a family nonetheless. Damaged, yes. Scarred, certainly, but intact. Because of a woman who built a hidden room and prepared for her own murder. Because of a letter that began, "If you're reading this, then I'm gone." Because of love that transcended death. Thank you for listening. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who has lost a loved one and wonders what secrets they might have kept. Someone who is carrying a burden alone and needs to know it's okay to ask for help. Someone who is fighting a battle in silence and needs to be reminded that they're not alone. You're not alone. You're never alone. And the people who love you, they want to help. They want to share your burdens. They want to stand beside you. Whatever you're facing, let them, please, before it's too late. The light in Elaine's office doesn't flicker anymore. Diego fixed it, replaced the wiring, installed a new fixture. The room is bright now, steady, warm. Sometimes I imagine it was her, the flickering, her way of reaching out after 2 years of silence. Her way of saying, "Look closer. There's something you need to find." I don't really believe in ghosts. Don't believe the dead can communicate with the living through faulty electrical wiring. But I believe in love. And I believe that love sometimes finds a way. Elaine's love found a way through a hidden room and a letter and an electrician who noticed a seam in the wall. Her love reached across 2 years of death and brought a murderer to justice. Her love saved me. Saved our family. Gave us closure, understanding, peace. That's what love does. It endures even when everything else falls apart. I'm standing at the window now, watching Lucas and Sophie load the car for our trip to the cemetery. Lucas is carrying the flowers, white roses, Elaine's favorite. Sophie is holding the letter, the one she wrote to her mother as part of her biography project. She wants to read it at the graveside. They're good kids, strong kids, kids who have been through hell and come out the other side. Their mother would be so proud. I grab my jacket, check my pocket for the letter I always carry. Elaine's letter, the one that started everything. Then I walk out the door to join my children. The sun is shining. The air is crisp and clean. And somewhere, I like to think, Elaine is watching. Proud of the man I've become. Proud of the family we've raised. At peace at last. We got him, Elaine. We got him. Rest now. You've earned it.